Welcome to my channel Click and Design. Let's get started. So today we'll learn about how to create views and about the view settings in Revit. So let's get started. Let's select the new project, select system default metric template, open and create a new project. Now we have this template over here. Now let's link a Revit file, an architecture file to this project. So here I have the architect file linked to this project. So today we'll talk about the views, how to create views and view settings. For that, let's create a small HVAC system in ceiling plan. So this is a ceiling plan which I've just opened. So let's create a small system. Let's place some mechanical equipment in this ceiling. Okay, and let's draw some ducts from this equipment. So you can see I have created some ducts. That's one more. Okay, so here is some ducts. Let's make the system view refined and shaded. So here we have a small system. So first of all, let's see how to control the visibility of this view. For that, we'll go to view. In the view we have visibility and graphics. Here if you'll see, first of all we have the model categories. Here we can see all the families in the Revit. So in the filter list you can specify the discipline. We have mechanical discipline right now for the HVAC, so let's select mechanical. And in the mechanical system we can see here we have duct fittings, duct insulation, linings and ducts. Okay, so here we have the ducts. Okay, if I will uncheck this ducts, we'll click OK, all the ducts will be gone from this view. Let's go again to visibility graphics and let's uncheck duct fittings also and then click OK. So you will see duct fittings also gone and we have only the mechanical equipment. So let's remove this mechanical equipment also from the view. Again we'll go to graphics, or in the properties we can see here we have the graphics. Go to edit. Let's see mechanical equipment, uncheck them and apply. Okay, so everything is gone from this view. This is how we control the visibility of this view. Now let's study more about this visibility. We'll go to visibility graphics, go to edit. Let's select the ducts back, okay, and the mechanical equipment. Now let's change the visibility of mechanical equipment. First we have the lines. In the lines, go to override, select the color to be orange, let us say orange. Okay, pattern to be solid. Okay, and then in the patterns you can specify the pattern, how the equipment should look like, the surface. So I'm selecting here the color and pattern to be solid, color again to be orange. So here we have foreground and the background, so we need to define the patterns of these two both. Click OK, apply. Okay, so now you can see the ducts are back and the mechanical equipment, we was selecting the color orange, so we have color orange for the mechanical equipment. Now let's go back to the visibility graphics, edit. Here next in the mechanical equipment you can see we have half tone. If you click on half tone, it will have transparency about 50%. Apply. Okay, so you can see this is how half tone work. Okay, so remove it if you want, remove this check and the half tone will be removed. Next we have the transparency also. Here you can specify the transparency we want. It has different levels as per your requirement. So let us say about 50%. Okay, okay, and apply. Okay, again you can see the equipment has become transparent. Okay, let's do Ctrl Z to remove the transparency and halftone. So this is how we can control the visibility graphics of the model categories. Now go back to the visibility graphics. Here we have the annotation categories. Now see, here we have the tags, all the tags for the families, for the Revit families, and we have the levels, grids, okay, legends for the colors, and so on. Every annotation is there inside this category. So let's say I will go to an elevation view. Here I have the elevation. Open elevation. In the elevation you can see here we have the grids, levels. Okay, so go to visibility graphics, edit. Let's go to annotation categories, and here we have the levels. Let's remove the levels and apply. You can see all the levels are gone. Let's bring them back. Go to edit, annotation categories. Here we have the levels. Check it and apply. Levels are back to their position. Right now you can see this is the one ceiling mechanical plan view. Here in the mechanical one ceiling plan, and in this plan view you can see I have added some notations to all the elements. Okay, so you can see the notations. Let's talk about how to duplicate views in Revit. So let's go to the ceiling plan, right click it, and we can see duplicate view. So we can duplicate view by three types. First we have duplicate. So let's select duplicate. So I have selected duplicate, and here is the duplicate view, copy one. Okay, so let's compare them both by going to view, and here we have tile views. Click tile views, so we can open both the views together. So here we have the original view on the right, and on the left we have the copied or the duplicate view. So you can see the difference. The view has been created but without annotations. Annotations are absent in the duplicate view. Okay, now let's close this. So this is the original view. Let's create one more view from the original, duplicate view, duplicate with detailing. So I've created one more view with detailing. Let's compare them again. Let's go to view, tile views. Now you will see this is the original view on the right, and left we have the duplicate views. Both the views have detailing. So with the help of duplicate views with detailing, you can also copy the detailing like this annotation shown. Okay, let's close this. Now let's again select the original view and duplicate view as dependent. Okay, so now again view and tile views to compare both the views. So on the left we have the duplicate, on the right we have in the dependent view. So now let's talk about the sections, how to create sections in Revit. For that we'll go to view, we have sections over here. Select the section and just place it horizontally. Okay, and like I have section, so I place this section in this view, and you can see this is the view range, and this box is the view range of this section. You can modify this view range whatever you want. Okay, and then to view this section, go to this section, right click and go to view. It will show you the section view, and here you can see this box. You can also modify this box. You can make it look bigger or smaller as per your wish. Okay, this is how you can control the sections. Again go to the ceiling view. See, we have created the section, but if you want to flip the direction of the section, just click over the section, and here we have the flip. Select on flip, and you can easily flip the direction of the section view. Let's again go to the view. So now it is a flipped view of the section view what we created. Now let's again close the section view let's make a section view vertically. So here we can create a vertical section in the same manner. Then click on section, then go to view. You can see the view easily. Okay, see, we have created these two sections, horizontal and vertical. If you want to name them, just select them and you can name them easily. Select them, go to properties. In the properties you will see view name, section 1, let it be section horizontal. Okay, and apply. So now if you want to see the section in the project browser, you can go to your project browser. If you want to see this section in the project browser, go to project browser. In the mechanical, you see this plus, here we have the sections. So here you can see the section horizontal saved in the project browser. Similarly, you will select the vertical section and you can give it a name. Let's say section vertical. Okay, and similarly you can see it in the project browser. Here we have the section. Okay, so this is how we create section. This is how we save them. Next we have the elevations. Okay, by default we have already some elevations here, as you can see, north elevation, south, west and east elevation. Let's delete them. Select and delete them. Okay, so now I have deleted the east elevation. Now how to create an elevation? For that, go to view. Here in the view you have elevation. Select elevation and now you can place the elevation. Okay, so let's place it anywhere you want. Now this black arrow of this elevation shows the direction where the elevation is looking at. Okay, so to go to this elevation, just right click on this elevation and go to elevation view. Right now you don't see anything, so let's go back to the ceiling view and let's press on this arrow. We see this box. This is the view range of this elevation. Let's increase the view range of this elevation till this building and this HVAC work. Okay, now let's go back to the elevation, and in the elevation you can easily see this building and the ductwork. If you want to see, you can see the ductwork also. So this is how you create the elevations. Let's close it. Now again select the head of this elevation. Okay, and in the properties you can specify the name of the elevation. Let it be elevation new east. Okay, and then apply. So let's find the elevation in the project browser. In the mechanical we have elevation, and see here we have the elevation new east, and now we can see this elevation on the screen. Okay, so what if I want to change the direction of this elevation? For that, let's delete it. Let's create a different elevation. Let's go to view and select elevation. Now when I want to place the elevation, with the help of tab key I can change the direction of the elevation where I want to place the elevation. Okay, so this is how it works. If you want to apply more views to this elevation, just click on this minus sign, okay, in this circle, and you can apply more views to different directions. Okay, as you can see I have checked all the directions. So with the help of this one elevation you can see the 4 sides. See, if I click on this arrow, you can see the view range of this particular arrow. Okay, or about this arrow, if you select, you can specify the elevation of this particular arrow. So in such manner you can create elevations in Revit. So now let's talk about the view range. Okay, so view range is basically the range what we see in any of the view. Like suppose this is the view, and let's go to properties. Here I have view range in the extents. Go to edit, and here is the window for the view range and some parameters. Let us deeply learn about these parameters in a picture I have. First of all, let's start with the primary range bottom. Okay, it is at offset level 0. So here we have primary range bottom at level 3. Now in the picture you can see here we have the level 3. So this is the bottom where the offset is 0, means we will take the bottom as a reference and here the offset level will be 0. Next we have the top, primary range top. Okay, and its offset is 1600 mm. Okay, so let's see primary range top. It is at first position. So see in the picture, first position, it is on the top, and the height of this top, it is measured from the bottom. Okay, so from the bottom its height is 1600. Now we have cut plane, primary range cut plane. Okay, let's see primary range cut plane. It is at the second position, and here it is between 1 and 3. So here the offset is 1500 between 0 and 1600. Okay, next we have the view depth. As you can see, the view depth is at the 6th position. So this yellow portion is basically the view depth. Okay, how much deeply we can see from the bottom view. So view depth is always in minus because we have the bottom at 0, and if we want to see further below, you have to specify the offset in minus. So here we have the offset value for the view depth. So 7th is the view range. This is the 7th. So this is the range what we see in any of the view what we open in Revit. Okay, to see all the components in a view range, we have to specify all these parameters for every view so that we can work easily. So now here we have the one mechanical view. Let's check its view range. We'll go to properties. Here we have the view range in the extents. Let's go to edit. Here we have the view range for this particular view. The top view is at 4000. Cut plane, it is the middle, we have at 1200, and the bottom we have it at 0. So this is the view range for this particular one mechanical floor. Let's go to the second mechanical floor. Okay, as you can see, there is nothing on the second mechanical floor. Let's create some ducts. Okay, in this floor, so I'm randomly placing some ducts. Okay, now let's go back to one mechanical. Here you can't see the ducts which I've created in the second floor. Let us say if I want to see all the ducts, every element which I've created in the second floor in this particular view, so I need to increase the view range of this particular view. For that I will go to view range, click edit. Then in the top I can specify either level 2. Okay, either I can specify the offset as 8000. Click OK, and see, you can see all the ductwork which I was creating in the level 2 in level 1. So this is how we use view range in Revit. So now let's talk about how to create filters and what is the purpose of creating filters in Revit. Let us suppose I want to create a fire system in Revit. For that I need a firefighting system. Let's see how to create a firefighting system in Revit. For that, let's go to project browser. Down we have the families, open families. In the families we have pipe systems, open pipe systems, and we can see here are a lot of pipe systems. Let's create a pipe system for firefighting. So select any of the system, right click and click duplicate. Here we have the duplicate copy. Let's rename it. Right click and rename, and name it as fire. Okay, so we have created a fire system. Now let's go to system, draw a pipe. Let's take a standard pipe and the system type is hydronic supply. So let's create a pipe. So see, I have created a pipe over here. So this is the pipe. Let's make a different pipe. I will select the pipe and one more pipe. I will draw. Okay. Let's select this pipe and change the system type to fire system and apply. So see, this fire is gone from this view. This pipe is not visible to us because we don't have filter for this fire system. If we'll select this pipe, you can see here we have the system type for this pipe as hydronic supply, and already we have created a filter for this hydronic supply. To check the filters, go to view. Here in the filters, you can see here we have the hydronic filter already created. That's why that pipe is visible to us and the fire pipe is not visible. So let's create a filter for fire system also. We'll go to view. Here we have the filters. Click on filters. Then click over here to add a filter. Let's say the filter name will be filter fire. Okay. Click OK, and then here we have the filter. Let's select the categories for this filter. For that, let's select the filter. I will select all the categories under piping because I need to create a piping system. I need to add pipe fittings, insulations, placeholders and pipe. Select on hide uncheck categories to see only those elements which I have selected. Now all these selected categories will have system type equals to fire system. Now what I have done, is I have created a filter fire. Okay, under this filter, all these categories, their system will be equal to fire system. Okay, and then apply. Okay, so now I have created a fire system. So let's see in the visibility graphics. Here you don't see the fire system. Okay, so let's include the fire system to this, and let's remove these filters because we don't need them now, and let's add a fire system. So here we have the filter fire. Okay, so now we have added the filter to this view and OK. So now you can see the fire pipe is visible to us. Okay, as we know, the firefighting surfaces have red color. So let's make some changes to the filter, how it looks like. We'll go to visibility graphics, filters. Here is the filter fire. Let's change the line type for this filter. Okay, and same with the pattern for foreground and the background. We choose red color for the firefighting. Again, solid and color will be red. Okay, okay, and okay. So now you can see we have applied the color to the fire system. Okay, so now add some shadows to these pipes. We'll go to visual style, we'll go to graphic display options, and here we have shadows, cast shadows, apply, and you can see shadows on the ground. Okay, it is in first mechanical view only. If I'll open the second mechanical view, here you can see this is the pipe and it is without any shadows. Okay, let's go back to one mechanical. Let us say if I want to copy these properties of this view to different views, for that we need to create a view template. So with the help of a view template, I can easily copy all the properties from a particular view to the different views. Say I very much like this view style with the shadows, with the detail level fine, and the visual style be shaded. Okay, and I want this view properties to be copied to the different views also. Okay, as you can see in second mechanical, our pipe it is like without any shadow. And if we'll create here a fire pipe, let's create a fire pipe in second mechanical. If I'll create a fire pipe in second mechanical, it is also not visible. It means that we don't have a filter for fire also in second mechanical. So let's create a view template from this particular view and apply this view template to all the views where we want to work. Okay, so by this method we will save our time and work. So let's create a view template. Now how to create a view template? For that, let's go to view. Here we have the view templates. Create view template from the current view. With the help of this tool, you can easily create a template from the current view. So let's create, and here specify the name. Let's say new view template. Okay, so now okay, and here we have the new view template. Here we have the view properties. Here you can specify all the properties. You can modify them according to your needs. And in the view properties, you can see all these the parameters. From here you can change the value of these parameters, how much you want, okay, by yourself. And then let's click OK to make the view template. So right now I've created a view template in Revit from this particular view. Let's go to second mechanical. Here we see a pipe. It is without shadows, and also we don't see the fire pipe. If we'll go into the visibility graphics, in the filters, we don't have a fire filter over here also in this view. So let's copy the view template to this particular view. For that, we'll go to view templates, apply template properties to the current view, and we'll select the template. So we have this new view template over here. We'll select it and we'll apply properties. Okay, so you can see all the template properties from the one mechanical has been copied to this second mechanical, and you can see the shadows of the pipe also here. Let's open the 3D. So here we have the 3D. We can see the pipes. They are not looking nice, and also the detail level is not fine, it is medium, and we have different visual style. So let's apply the view template to this 3D also. Again, we'll go to view template, apply template properties to the current view, then we will select the template which we have created. So new view template, apply properties, and okay. So now you can see we have applied the view template to this 3D view also. So in such manner you can create view templates and apply it to all the views for better working with the views. The next tool is callout. Callout is basically a type of view. We create a callout to separate a view from a current view. Let's say we have this view and we want to create a separate view from this view. For that, we'll use the tool callout. For that, we'll go to view. Here we have callout. So let's use rectangular callout. With the help of rectangular callout, you can draw a rectangle like this on the screen. Okay, and just place it. This line of the callout you can click and drag, as you can see. And you can adjust the head of this callout. Okay, now if you want to separately view this callout, for that you have to go to project browser, and in the project browser under the power you can see here we have the callout created. Okay, so let's open this callout, double click on this callout. Here we have the callout. Okay, now we can modify the view of this particular callout. For that we have the properties. In the properties you can see we have the visibility graphics again to modify this view. Let's say I want to remove this level 2 and level 1 from this view. Okay, I will go to visibility graphics, edit, annotation categories. Here we have the levels, so remove the levels. Okay, apply. Okay, now we see a rectangular box over here. It is basically the crop view. If you want to remove this, just go in the properties again. Here we have crop region visible. uncheck this, so the box will be gone. Now again you can also modify the view here, detail level. So in such manner you can separately create a callout from a view and modify its visibility settings. So the next tool we have is scope boxes. Scope boxes are created to create a crop view of any view what you see in Revit. So here we have the floor plan over here. Let's create a duplicate view from this floor plan. Duplicate view, duplicate as dependent. Okay, so now we have a dependent view of this floor plan. Now let's go to the original view and let's here create a scope box. To create a scope box, go to view. Here you will see scope box. Now let's create a scope box. If you will press anywhere, you will get a rectangle and you can place it anywhere on the screen. Okay, and with the help of arrows you can specify the area under the scope box what you will see. Okay, so I've created the scope box. In the properties you can apply a name to the scope box. Let us say the name be scope box mechanical. Okay, and then let's go to the dependent view here. Now if we need to apply the scope box in this view or the crop view, for that go to the properties. Here we have scope box here. In place of none, select scope box mechanical and apply. You will see only the crop view. Okay, so this is how scope box work. Tool we have is section box. Section box is basically a crop view which you create in a 3D view. Okay, so here we have a 3D view on the screen, and let's crop this 3D view with the help of tool section box. For that I will go to properties. In the properties, here you see the section box. Just check on this and you will see a box in this 3D view. Okay, and if you click on the box, you will have some arrows. With the help of arrows you can modify the view as shown in this video. You can reduce the view and can specify a particular view. As you can see, I am reducing this view. Okay, so in this way you create section boxes and can reduce your 3D view to a floor plan like this. Right now I can see a floor plan only. So section box, they reduce the views, so we can work efficiently without getting disturbed by the different views.